What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from TheTokenMinorities, and I am finally back with my recap for this season of the GBA. I meant to do this a while back, way back right after the finals ended, but you know what? I got sick, I lost my voice, there wasn't a whole lot I could do about it. Can't really record a video without having a voice, but finally, for the most part, recovered. Going to try to knock this out now. I might cough a little bit throughout this, and I apologize if that happens. I'll try to crop out most of those when I do the video editing, but you have been warned. So, yeah, this was a pretty good season for me. Obviously, my first season in the GBA, and couldn't really ask for a better start. Starting the season 7-0, which was the record for the best start to a GBA season, so really happy about that. That's something I can definitely write home about and hang on to for the rest of my draft league career, really. Yeah, so really good start, had some wins against some really strong opponents like Pokegame, MV, two huge names that I had wins against during that early streak in the season. Also wins against, let me think, it was week 1 was NecroStevo, had a win against Lars in week 2. Week 5 against Cybertron, a guy I've looked up to in the community, or just in the Pokemon community for such a long time. Let's see, wins against Crimson Seabad and then Coach Z along that winning streak. Unfortunately, it did end in week 8 against Aster, who's apparently my kryptonite in the GBA. He did knock us off there in a really close 1-0 loss, followed by another loss actually in the next week against Pokegame, and then we clinched playoffs in week 10 against Geo. So really it was an exciting season. I really loved my draft, and yeah, just wanted to talk about that a little bit for this recap, and then close it up with a few thank yous before I am done here, and give a little bit of a shout out to the GBA D-League, which obviously is where I got my start here in the GBA, so I'm going to be really supportive of that here for this next GBA season. And spoilers, as you should already know from another video on this channel, there's another TTM member who is participating in the GBA D-League this season. I'll talk more about him here in just a little bit, but just a little bit more in the recap for the season. So we did finish the season with a 9-3 record. I don't remember the exact differential off the top of my head, but that's not too important really. All that really matters is that we did finish number 2 overall in the league, and also number 2 overall in the conference, so that kind of sucked in terms of how the conferences were distributed. It wasn't the same conference as Envy, and he was the only person to finish the regular season with a better record and differential than me. So we were number 2 overall. Yeah, number 2 overall and number 2 in my conference entering the playoffs. In the playoffs, managed to pick up that win against Lars, which in some people's eyes might have been a little bit controversial, but I stayed true to the fact that I think the luck in that game had a little bit less of an impact than many people are thinking it did. But even so, I'm not going to dive back into that at this point. It is in the past now, but yeah, we did pick up the win against Lars, and then we lost to MV in the semifinals, unfortunately, and then MV went on to actually lose in the finals to Chimpact, so congratulations to Chimpact for being this season's GBA champion. If you haven't seen the championship game, make sure to go take a look at that, as that was a really, really good game. That was really entertaining for me to watch. Just a really high-level game, both players making really good plays, good predictions, and it just came down to the wire, and yeah, just a really well-played game by Chimpact for sure. Well prepped on Chimpact's end. I thought MV prepped pretty well too, but I think that game was really won in the prep department by Chimpact. So once again, congratulations to him on a really good season for sure. But yeah, with all that said, let's talk about my draft a little bit. So as you know, I drafted Celesteela round 1. It was actually pretty late in round 1, which at the time of the draft, that was really uncommon for Celesteela to get drafted that late in round 1. Many people consider it to be top 5 Pokemon in the format. I think that opinion might be dwindling a little bit at this point. I'm not entirely sure, but I just wanted to give some of my opinions on it and some of my opinions on some of the other mons on my draft as well. So Celesteela is really, really good. All right, Celesteela puts so much pressure on an opposing team in terms of their prep, because Celesteela has that really unique typing in Steel Flying, I believe only shared by Skarmory, that makes it really difficult to take on, especially when it has such solid defensive stats, really offensive stats as well. It's only weak to Electric and Fire. Those are both mons that have the same shared weakness of ground, and Celesteela has access to Earthquake, so automatically that makes Celesteela just a huge issue for opposing teams to deal with. So yeah, I really liked Celesteela for its defensive typing. I also liked it offensively in the sense that it's able to set up autotomizes pretty easily. For the most part, it's able to do a lot of damage to opposing teams pretty easily with its variety of coverage moves. The one thing I didn't really like about Celesteela as much as I thought I would is its capability with Z moves. I really thought whenever I drafted this team that Z Celesteela was borderline broken. And the more I thought about it in prep, the more I realized that it's pretty easy, honestly, for an opponent to prep to the point where they cannot get swept by Autotomized Celesteela, at least after one Autotomized. The thought is that all they really need is an electric or fire type that outspeeds, like with a Choice Scarf, that outspeeds +2 Celesteela, and then Autotomized Celesteela is pretty well checked at that point. And in the league this season, there happened to be a lot of Mons that fit that criteria. There were Thundurus, I believe 2 Thunduruses. I think I only played one of them if I recall correctly. There was the Delphox that Lars had, as well as Gengar, which isn't a fire or electric type, but still fast enough to outspeed and Autotomize Celesteela. Some other things, let me think. There was the Tapu Koko that Envy had, the Alolan Raichu as well under the electric terrain. Like, there were a lot of Mons that were able to really well check +2 Celesteela, which made the Z Crystal option a little less appealing on it, honestly. As the season went on, I think you might have noticed I only brought Z Celesteela, I believe, twice throughout the entire season. Both times were actually earlier on, once against Lars, and I don't remember exactly when the other one was off the top of my head. Might have actually been in week 1. I think week 1 and week 2 were the only times I brought Z Celesteela, which is kind of funny, but I don't know, I just felt like Celesteela really fit more of a defensive role on my team, or maybe not necessarily defensive, but I just really saw a lot of value in Leftovers on Celesteela. I really think Leftovers is the best item on Celesteela just because it really appreciates that passive recovery. Its defensive typing is so good naturally that if it's able to have any form of recovery, it just makes it that much better. Longevity on Celesteela is just so important. And that was something that I really started noticing as the season progressed, how much I value that longevity on Celesteela, especially when other members of my team were able to put in so much offensive work, as hopefully you saw if you followed me throughout the season. Surprises like Gardevoir and Breloom, holy crap, guys. Those things they put in so much work throughout the season. Breloom was the MVP of the team. I could pull up the stats on Breloom if I just don't want to right now, to be honest, but you can pull it up for yourself on the fan doc if you want. But Breloom was, I believe, number 5 in the MVP race by the end of the season, which is crazy, by the way, especially considering I didn't even have it in week 1. And Breloom's a Mon that typically isn't even drafted. It's been drafted a little more recently, I think, and hopefully it has something to do with that, so I really think it should be drafted more than it really is. But yeah, it for a while wasn't really drafted too much. It was thought of as a tier 2 Pokemon in the GBA that just wasn't really worth drafting at tier 2, but I humbly disagree, as I really think Breloom put in a tier 2's worth of effort this season for me for sure. Honestly, it put in more work for me than Hydreigon, which should never be a tier 1. So hopefully we get that fixed here for the next GBA season, as Hydreigon does not have the speed tier of a tier 1 Pokemon without having better typing and whatnot. Like Dark Dragon, that's really good offensive typing, it's decent defensive typing, but it cannot beat fairies. And I feel like a tier 1 Pokemon needs to be able to beat its counters. Hydreigon cannot do that, it's forced to U-turn on them, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I just felt like it always had to run Choice Scarf. Like, its speed tier was not very good, and while there were some defensive teams in the GBA, I don't know, I just always found more value in Choice Scarf Hydreigon than other sets, and a Mon that's kind of designated for the Choice Scarf role does not deserve to be tier 1. That's my stance on it, and I have the same stance on Sandforce Landau. I think Sandforce Landau is best with a Choice Scarf, and as a result, that should not be in tier 1 either, when that is really, in my opinion, one of the only viable sets on it. So yeah, hopefully both of those Mons get moved down. If you disagree with that mentality, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to argue it, as I really do feel strongly about those two specifically not deserving to be in tier 1. Sheer Force Lando, that is a different story. That's currently banned in the GBA, I believe, but Sandforce Lando, no, that should not be in tier 1, and Hydreigon definitely should not be in tier 1 either. But back on the Gardevoir and Breloom train. Breloom, freaking monster. Gardevoir, I love that thing too. I don't know, I really love my fairy types, right? So many of you who have followed me for a while, you know I've liked Clefable. Clefable's been like one of my favorite mons in the format for years. And Gardevoir has quickly risen up those ranks as well. I really loved Trace on Gardevoir. I loved Choice Scarf Gardevoir. That was a really nice set. And pretty convenient to bring in most matchups, just because most teams I found this season were weak to the combination of Psychic and Fairy, only resisted by like a very select handful of mons. Like Steel types obviously can resist those. I found that I was able to either pack coverage for those steel types on Gardevoir, or just take advantage of those steel types with other members of my team, making Gardevoir shine that much more throughout the season. My personal favorite Gardevoir set was the Assault Vest Gardevoir that I brought against Envy back in week 4. That put in so much work, really caught him off guard, and was instrumental in being able to pull off that upset in week 4. So yeah, Gardevoir, probably my favorite mon on this entire draft, if I'm being honest. Even though Breloom probably did the best for me this season in terms of kills, Gardevoir was my favorite mon, just because I felt like it really helped show my versatility as a builder. So I like to be really creative. My creativity as a builder is a better way to put it. It's such a versatile Pokemon because of its ability and because of its ridiculously large move pool and coverage options. Like, oh man, I love it so much. I actually think it's better than Mega Gardevoir, if I'm being totally honest, because it doesn't take the move slot of Mega Gardevoir. Plus, I don't think base 100 speed is very good anymore for your Mega. Especially, I mean, Mega Gardevoir, yeah, it's still good. I'm not gonna say it's not good, but I would draft regular Gardevoir again before Mega Gardevoir personally, just because of the versatility and the option to be fast and still be able to. Well, I guess let me think. Yeah, just the option to be fast. I guess Mega Gardevoir and Gardevoir in a sense do the same thing. The difference being Trace. Trace is definitely the X factor on regular Gardevoir. So yeah, Gardevoir is freaking fantastic, and Breloom as well. Two mons that I really hope you guys have learned a little bit about throughout the course of the season, as I really do feel like those were the mons that I used the best throughout the season. Just some other things to talk about. Mega Venusaur, I think, just a little bit of reflection on that. I think it's just as good as it's always been. I don't think it got any better or worse in Gen 7. I think that it's able to still do a lot of the same things. I think that defensive Mega Venusaur is a little bit worse now than it used to be, but offensive is a little bit better than it used to be, or at least like bulky offensive Mega Venusaur. So yeah, with that in mind, it's just a good, reliable Pokemon, good Gloomon for my team. I think I brought it a little over half the time throughout the season, which that's pretty good for a defensive Mega, I think. And yeah, would recommend Mega Venusaur. I don't know if I would recommend it in the top 4 rounds. I think it's like around 5 or around 6 Mega, and I think I picked it up in round 4 this season because I had Celesteela and really wanted to pair those two together. But just naturally, I think Mega Venusaur deserves to be picked up in the 5th or 6th round of a tiers-based draft, and even of like a points draft. If it's like a free draft, then it can wait a little bit longer. I don't think free draft is really a thing anymore, but you know, if it is, if you're in a free draft league, I would recommend waiting a little bit on Mega Venusaur. But in general, it should be a mid-round pick, but it's still super reliable for sure. Just don't like hard switch it into a wall breaker. That's how you lose a Mega Venusaur. But anyways, yeah, so I think I covered everything I really wanted to about my draft. Seismitoad was really nice as well. You saw I brought that a lot. I thought that was really effective on my team because it only had the grass weakness, and my team just really didn't care about grass types otherwise, so they really usually didn't bring grass coverage for it. I believe the only time I saw grass coverage against my Seismitoad might have been in the playoffs, if I'm thinking back. Like, Lars brought grass, not Tapu Fini. I don't think anyone else brought grass coverage against me, unless it was like grass stab. I don't think anyone else brought grass coverage, so that really says a lot about Seismitoad on my team and why it was effective. I think maybe Crimson might have brought grass, not on Jirachi. I don't really remember, but even so, yeah, Seismitoad was pretty good. And finally, don't draft Durant. So with all that said, I wanted to say a few thank yous for the course of this season. First of all, thank you to all of the fans for your support this season, both fans of my the KC Jirachiefs and just fans of the GBA in general. Like, I know not everyone is my fan, that's fine, I don't expect you to be, but even so, just wanted to say thank you to all of you guys for your support throughout the season. both support for me and for the other coaches. You guys are what makes the GBA great. You guys are what makes the GBA run forward and continue to grow and improve. So huge thank you to you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the season. I know the coaches did as well, and here's to many more in the future. And I wanted to say thank you to my front office as well. I'm going to list off everyone who's in there. Not everyone contributed equally, I'll have to say. I'll have to admit that, but many of you guys were really helpful throughout the course of the season, so I wanted to go ahead and give you a shout out. Thanks to Rizzy Pow, thanks to Mr. Mercuro, to Magic, to Aberforth, the Verd, Carson, Halu, Trev, the Bee's Knees, Tone, Bronson, LeJohn Flames, the Uzi Gunner, Dallas Boy, Drunk, and Zazo, I believe, and then Baby Eric as well. Trying to think if I forgot anybody. I think I got them all. Some of the guys who were especially helpful throughout the season, LeJohn gave me mocks like almost every single week that I asked for one, so that was really helpful. Tone was really helpful in giving his input as to what he expected my opponent to bring each week, so both of you guys, huge shout out to you guys. You were probably the two MVPs of the front office. Zazo was really helpful in the middle parts of the season as well, giving his input on the matchup. Adam, the Bee's Knees, gave me mocks as well throughout the season. Dallas gave me a mock or two. Let me think. Yeah, and then Halu gave some advice as well throughout the season. David, every now and then. So, yeah, and then they were all helpful there in the playoffs as well. So, huge shout out to all you guys. You are awesome. Couldn't have done as well as we did this season without all of the help from you guys. I wanted to say thank you to Under the Radar. Huge thank you to Under the Radar for his help with recording my battles for me this season. My capture card broke back in the D-League, so I've had to lean on other people to record my games since then, and he was really helpful throughout the entire season trying to record those games for me, get them up still on time for the most part. And yeah, huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for your help on that. I wanted to say thank you to Pablo, the Common Dude, and Araptos for their help with genning my teams throughout the season as well. I know I'm a genner, I'm sorry, I don't breed my mons, but yeah, huge shout out to you guys. I appreciate all of your help as well. So that's about all I wanted to say for Season 8 of the GBA. It was a good run. I really enjoyed the experience. I'm grateful for being invited to the GBA for this season after playing in the D-League. Now with that said, your KC Jirachiefs will be returning for GBA Season 9, slated to begin in a few months, I think. I don't know exactly when. It'll be after the GBA D-League ends, obviously, but yeah, it'll be coming up here relatively soon. I don't even know if it's going to be on the current console, or if it's going to be maybe on the Wii U with the potentially new games that might be coming out. That I don't know if the leaks are like confirmed at this point, but Pokemon Go, or Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee seem to be on the horizon potentially, so maybe that's where we'll be playing. I don't really know. We will see. But yeah, your KC Jirachiefs will be playing in that season of the GBA. But until then, we have the GBA D-League coming up. So I'm going to tell you now to go over and support my fellow TTM member Danza, Crobat for the win, who his LA Needle Kings are going to be participating in the GBA D-League this season, and who knows, maybe we will see 2 GBA coaches in the Token Minorities after the D-League ends, depending on how well Danza does. He was a GBA coach way back in Season 1, 2, and 3, so maybe they will invite him back as well for this next season. That would be pretty cool, but make sure to go support Danza throughout this season of the D-League. He'll be uploading right here on TTM. Also, make sure to go support him in the fan server, which I'll link down below, just like I have throughout the season. Come support him in the GBA fan server throughout the course of the D-League. And with all of that said, make sure to come out to the GBA D-League draft stream this weekend, actually on Sunday, May 20th. Starting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because guess what? Your boy is hosting the stream along with Aster J. We're going to be tag teaming the stream for this weekend, so you can come out and listen to my beautiful voice that I know you guys love so much. Hopefully I'm over this cough a little bit more by then. I've only coughed a couple times in this video, but I've been really fighting it here throughout the course of this, trust me. So yeah, hopefully that's doing a little better by then. Hope you guys will come out and support your GBA D-League coaches, as well as come out and support me and Aster throughout the course of the stream. That's going to be streamed on the on the GBA Twitch, which is twitch.tv/GBA official. You can see it on your screen right now. So I hope I'll see you guys then, and I think I am done here. Once again, thank you so much for the support this season, and here's to many more in the future. Have a good one, guys. Later.